Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Inside the Storm. I'm your host Zane, and this is your weekly show on everything Newport Storm FC. We've got a really great show lined up for you. We're going to be reviewing all the action from Newport Storm's clash with Kilo Wolves in round 4, as well as discussing the oncoming junior season, round 5, and hearing from some of the coaches on their thoughts on the games this weekend. So reviewing round 4 saw Newport Storm take on Kilo Wolves in a huge clash. Obviously Kilo Wolves at the time was undefeated, so it was a big game, obviously having played one game less, but still a very tough clash. Kilo Wolves was predicted to be one of the favourites to win the league. So a really difficult game, and definitely the team and the coaching staff went in with the expectations that it would be an extremely difficult clash. Obviously they have a coach who our coach Rex has a good relationship with, and he mentioned that in the preview that they would be a very strong team, a very well drilled, very well set up, organised team. And definitely that was what was seen from the game itself. The first half was an extremely cagey affair and finished 0-0. And both teams felt like we're feeling each other out in terms of strengths and weaknesses and potential positions of exploitation. There were definitely chances for both teams. However, it was definitely a more closed off game as opposed to the second half where things really seemed to open up. But I think the team perhaps struggled in identifying where they could really play and exploit spaces and create chances until some of the tactical adjustments came in from Coach Rex to address some of those issues. And overall, I think in that first half, you'd say that the Storm was definitely the stronger team in terms of how they played and the situations they created. Definitely could have been a few goals up had chances gone the other way. But obviously that's football. And going in at halftime, the sentiment from Coach Rex was definitely that this game is extremely winnable, and it definitely was. And you saw that in the response in the second half. It was a much higher intensity, a much faster level of play, more direct, which caused a lot more danger to the opposition, obviously. And at 57 minutes, Eunice scores a wonderful, almost solo goal, using his physicality and his attributes to bully a defender and create an angle for himself and score off a tight angle. So that is the kind of quality that, you know, individuals can produce and can take you out of tough spots in certain games with just individual attributes and individual quality. And we saw that from Eunice. We've seen that from Gorky throughout the season. You've seen that from Blue and from Bruno. But that's just the ability of, you know, top forward players who can out of nothing fashion their own chances, and you saw that in a lot of the chances that were created in that game. There were really moments of individual brilliance. Obviously, after that goal, Blue, the captain, comes off through injury, and that's where it felt like potentially the momentum was starting to shift, and Wolves definitely capitalized on that by making very aggressive substitutions. They then, in the 72nd minute, score their first goal, which is off a set piece. Very difficult to judge in terms of whether it was whether there could have been more done in the defense of it. But again, a brilliant ball, bit of individual quality, and it's 1-1. And that's where it felt like really the momentum had shifted. And then, unfortunately, a couple of minutes later, Wolves score a second, and that kind of sentiment was really tough on the team in terms of being ahead, playing so well, almost dominating for 60 minutes, and then within 15 minutes, completely the momentum shifted, and then it just became about Wolves sealing out the game, and they were able to do that. And, you know, offensively, the team wasn't able to create chances in those last 15 minutes after going 2-1 down, and that shift in momentum was really difficult to deal with. Obviously, there were a lot of injuries and mitigating circumstances, but, you know, the team on the pitch expected to win that, and unfortunately, a late game like that, conceding a late goal, or two quick-fire goals in the second portion of the second half is really difficult to come back from in terms of momentum. Have a listen to some thoughts of Coach Rex and a couple other players on the game itself.
Yeah, it was a bit tough one to buy into. I think the boys did all they could. Maybe they just ran out of a bit of gas at the end. But hey, the boys showed up and they gave it all they could. It's something for the coaching staff to reflect back on and see what we could change to get them going through the whole 90 minutes. But yeah.
Yeah, I thought the boys dominated the first half and really were smashing them, taking over the game. we had our chances. Unfortunately, we didn't take them, and Kilo Wolves took us in the later half of the game.
Oh, look, I felt like after the first 3 weeks, which was quite tough, but I thought today, that's the best we played all season so far. So at least we got some more momentum, especially that first half. Could have had a few goals, but then that second half, it was 50-50, and we need to take our chances. So sometimes that's the way it ends sometimes. But however, I can still see us beyond from this and hopefully do better in the following weeks.
On a positive note, the reserve squad was able to get their first win of the season, which was extremely deserved for the team, who's put out some really, really fantastic performances without the results to match. An extremely strong performance, again, outplaying their opponents, getting 2 set-piece goals, Zach having a very, very good man-of-the-match performance, and the team themselves beginning to click. We actually got to chat with Coach Abs, who actually ended up playing as well in the game, to get his thoughts on the game and how he feels the team can go on and progress from this result.
It was a tough game, but definitely believed in this team. You know, we have the players, we have the talent. You know, I actually think we played really, really well in the first couple of games, and you know the results just didn't go our way. But proud of the boys, man. They put their all into it. They kept running, they kept tackling, fighting, and able to come away with the victory. You know, we had some players out, had some players injured, had some players away. But the squad, you know, pulled through together. You know, to be a tough team, a team that was obviously unbeaten. You know, and I know that that's obviously going to put us in good stead to carry on going in the season. We just have to keep going, have to keep fighting. You know, on the reserve front, on the senior front as well. Season's going to be a long season, so we just have to keep going, keep fighting. And I really believe we have a really good chance to do well. So up the storm and keep it moving. On to the next one. Let's go.
Now, moving on to round 5, obviously the team is in bad form. 3 losses in a row is definitely not the expectation of this team and how talented they are and how talented the coaching staff is. And the goal is obviously immediately to turn this around. This week the team takes on Darebin away from home, which will be a very, very difficult game. Obviously Darebin played in State 4 last season, so they're coming from a higher division. A very, very established club, a very solidified club, a strong coaching staff. So definitely another strong test. They haven't had the best start to the season, currently sitting around mid-table. I believe 6th at the time of recording. And there's no easy games in this league. So even though they might have not had the best start to the season, the team is definitely expecting a very, very tough test, especially away from home, where it will be a very intense atmosphere, potentially a hostile atmosphere. And so the only important thing now is getting the results again and lifting the team's confidence from being in a position where they've had unfortunate losses in back-to-back games, which has hurt the momentum slightly. And now it's just focusing on getting that momentum back, getting those results back in order, and seeing how the team can respond and build from these setbacks. Around the club, obviously the juniors trainings have been going on fully. Their season kicks off this Sunday, which is really exciting for the whole club, obviously having many, many junior teams compete, especially in the top divisions, the Kangaroos. There's about 6 different squads competing, so that's extremely exciting for the club. Really looking to build upon the success of the junior teams last year and carry on growing a really, really successful junior project, obviously with the results at the Kilo Cup and at Shepton. The idea is to continue to build a dominant legacy of junior talent development, which is a real focal point of the team. Obviously, the club is very invested in their senior team and the success of the senior team, but at the same time, the junior program is what started the club and what one of the huge focus points of the club is in terms of success and growing out and attracting top young talent that can build into the senior team later on. So it's extremely exciting to have the junior season kick off. Obviously, a lot of expectations around their success, but ultimately it's about improving and shaping future players. But that's very exciting for the club as well. This weekend, the squad kicks off against Darabin at 1 p.m. for reserves and 3 p.m. for seniors, playing away from home. Come down to the ground. If you can't, check out the live stream on YouTube, which will have the whole games, both the full games, or check out the highlights the day after. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.